Hi, everyone. We'll get started in a few moments. We're just waiting for everybody to join, so thank you for coming. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Santa Legati. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Member Services at the Retail Council of Canada, and I'm very proud to be here today with Leger, who is going to walk us through the 15th edition of the WOW study, the in-store experience for Ontario and Western Canada. We do have a lot to cover today, so we'll get started in a moment. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you need to ask a question, you will see that the Q&A is open. Please submit your questions there. And at the end of Luke and Catherine's presentation, we'll make sure to get those answered. At the end of the webinar today, you will receive a copy of the report, plus a recording of today's overview. Because we have a lot to cover, let's get started. So we'll move on to introduce our speakers today. We have Luc Dumont. He's the Senior VP of Consumer Insights at Leger, and Catherine Dawson, who is as well the Senior VP of Consumer Insights. Both will speak about the results. Some very exciting information to share with all of you. So let's get started so that we can take the most opportunity to go through all of the information. Luc.
Thank you, Santo. Thank you for being here. I'm really thrilled to be here today with you all. It's exciting for us every year. We eagerly await the results of the WOW study, much like many retailers across Ontario. It's highly anticipated, and it's really become a true benchmark for understanding the consumer experience in retail across Canada and Ontario. Today, we're focusing on Ontario and Western Canada. But that's not all. The WOW universe is much larger. This morning, we revealed the results of the Quebec WOW rankings. And coming up this Thursday, we'll have the results of the WOW Digital Experience Study. So there's lots to say. I'm also thrilled to be joined today by one of my favorite people at Leger, Catherine Dawson. Together, we will be guiding you through the key insights into the customer experience this year. We've got two special topics that we added to the study this year, which are really interesting. And then we'll get into the really exciting part, which is uncovering the rankings overall, and then the sector rankings for Ontario, and then followed by Western Canada. So a little bit about how we actually make this happen. As I said, the WOW study has been pretty much the gold standard for measuring customer experience for over 10 years, 15 now. And our approach, our methodological approach makes this all possible. The study evaluates 23 dimensions of the customer journey. We also have, visitor profiles, performance indicators, and common irritants, which are really important for retailers to understand to continually improve their experience. Every year, hundreds of Ontario retailers are evaluated. This year, 166 to be exact, across 21 or 25 sectors. I'm not too sure. With each retailer being rated by approximately 300 respondents who have recently visited the store. Whether they've made a purchase or not is not a qualifier. They have to have experienced the store in order to rate it. So that means that a total of 11,000 or so people answered the survey. That's a lot. They were able to answer in English or French. And each respondent evaluates up to 4 randomly selected retailers that they had visited. Last year, the study was conducted from October 17th to November 15th, 2024, utilizing Leger's massive Leo panel, which is representative of the population. But to ensure accurate and balanced results, we do apply weights by gender, age, mother tongue, and region, just to make sure that things are very precise. Now, of course, we get this question every year. We can't survey all retailers in Canada or in Ontario. So we try to be balanced and fair, and we look at the categories, the players, the emerging players, things of that nature. There's a huge, almost year-long process in that selection. But if you have suggestions on retailers that we could add in coming years, or even sectors that we haven't touched on, please don't hesitate to contact us. So let's talk a little bit about some of the key observations this year. So first of all, we can say that after many years of challenges, the pandemic disruptions, the labor shortages, which led to supply chain issues, inflation, and then rising prices, it does feel that we are now entering a more positive era. Consumers have been and continue to be eager to return to stores, which is great. They really want to experience shopping in store. They like seeking advice, and they benefit from those in-person perks of being able to ask questions and touch and feel the product. So we can see that shopping is shifting back from having been a stressful experience to a pleasant activity as it was in the past. And I mean, this year the message is clear. Retailers have been very resilient. They've overcome a number of obstacles to maintain and enhance a strong customer experience. The shift is reflected in rising WOW scores across multiple sectors, including convenience stores, natural products, and clothing, while a few sectors like sports and hardware face tougher challenges. As we can see here on the slide, 54% of the retailers we measured have improved their WOW scores, and only 13% have seen decreases. That means we've got resulting in a net change of plus 41. That's pretty good. If you look at last year, in contrast, the net change from the previous year was minus 19. So we've definitely turned a corner, and again highlights the remarkable progress retailers have made in overcoming challenges and maintaining their focus on delighting customers. Obviously, we look at things like irritants. Price increases remain the top irritant, especially in grocery and in some clothing stores, not all. But in that regard, some banners are improving. And in general, we can say that consumers are more demanding and less forgiving. Not a huge surprise. They really do expect retailers to innovate and solve some of those lingering issues like labor shortages and supply chain gaps. How do we know all this? First of all, we measured a whole bunch of dimensions, which we'll get to. But we also look at verbatim response. We ask people to type in what into an open-ended question, how they feel and what they've experienced. This year, we analyzed over 30,000 comments, and it really, again, delivers a pretty clear message. Consumers will not hesitate to turn to competitors or shop online if things don't go their way, right? So it's a habit that they've perfected in recent years because they had to, but now they will rely on that to mitigate any of the negative things that are happening to them. We saw 6 clear expectations from consumers. Consumers are looking for interesting and personalized promotions, and this is key. We'll see later in our more detailed analysis that some retailers do really well in this regard. Bath and Body Works is an example, and others fall behind. Last year, we explored this in more detail and saw that it was a very important part of the overall experience for consumers. They want to feel like stores are paying attention to who they are, what their habits are, and what they like or don't like. And along those same lines, consumers are looking for very engaging loyalty programs that give back and provide that sense of value. We've got some really good performers in that regard this year. Pennington's, Global Pet Foods, Starbucks, Sephora, Kiehl's, and The Body Shop do really well for loyalty programs, which are really important to consumers. Well-stocked shelves, not a huge surprise. People want to know that if they go to a store, that their size, their color that they want, and or things that are on sale or promotion will be there. This will greatly frustrate shoppers if they go to your store and not find what they're looking for. Consumers are also looking for or increasingly less tolerant of staffing and or service shortages. So, these things result, if you think about it, in longer wait times at the cash. It'll result in lack of staff expertise or having staff that are sort of negative and sort of indifferent to the consumer. And that's not a good thing. Consumers are paying attention to that. Above and beyond that, people are looking for good store organization. They want things that are properly organized, where there's good signage. If those things are not there, major turnoff. And of course, continue to look for seamless experiences. Not something that is new, but something that seems to be growing in the mind of the consumer. Again, if these things are not there, consumers are going to pivot to online shopping. So that last point is something we wanted to explore a little bit deeper. We wanted to look at what drives them basically to shop in store versus online, to better understand, help you understand how to get shoppers to come to your store. We all know that when shoppers do go to a store, they experience inspiration and they may purchase more than they had originally planned to purchase. So that's a really good thing. You want to inspire them and help them discover new products in your brick and mortar environment, which seems to be something easier than online. But at the same time, we've got digital experiences sort of mirroring some of those in-store perks, right? We've got things like live chats and product suggestions, which are getting better and better. But also on the flip side, we've got the in-store shopping experience mirroring some of the innovations that have happened online. So things like AI suggestions when you're in a store or other tech integrations into the store experience. So we wanted to explore and sort of validate what motivates consumer choices and how retailers can adapt. And this is why Catherine is here with us today. I'm just going to flat out ask Catherine, why do consumers choose to shop in store or online?
Well, thanks, Luke. I'm happy to be here today. This is the first time I've participated in the WOW presentation, so really pleased to be able to jump in and ask that specific question. So, first of all, really being able to have and enjoy the product right away is really a key advantage over online, and it's right at the top of our list. And we might anticipate that the delivery issues caused by the Canada Post strike recently will have heightened that perception further. If not before it happened, then certainly after. Otherwise, we see that trying before buying is right near the top of the list as well. And this is, of course, most important in clothing and footwear. But this is an experiential component to being in store. And, if you put that together with things like discovering new products, which ranks third on our list, and enjoyable experience, which ranks fifth, it really ties back to what Luke was saying earlier, where we're seeing that excitement about shoppers going back to in-store shopping in person and being able to have that experience in store. And that's really stressing how important that is for shoppers to go in store rather than online. I wanted to mention what we're focusing on here are the Ontario results for this particular section, but we do have this special report as well in the WOW West syndicated report. For those West retailers that are purchasing that, you'll be interested to see what the differences are. There's a lot of the same things, but there are some intriguing differences in the West in terms of how shoppers want to experience in store. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you are a subscriber. So what can retailers do to lure shoppers back to in-store? So beyond just, okay, is it a good experience? Can they get their products? What are the kind of triggers or tools or tips that maybe a retailer could think about using? So given the economic climate, it's really no surprise when you look at our list that any incentive that offers a financial advantage to shoppers are highly, highly motivating. So in our list, for example, we've got in-store promotions, a low price zone in store, loyalty perks. So loyalty programs are huge in this area. And obviously there's more that a retailer can do, but anything that focuses on the economics is important. And for those of you that might have seen it, we had a study recently about newcomers to Canada, and we focused on the retail sector there, and it was really the same message emerged. Price and loyalty programs are really, really key for getting newcomers to come to your retail store, and it's the same thing with general Canadians. It's critical right now. And other than that, there's several incentives that really relate to the store experience, and a lot of that has to do with the staff being a really big part of making it a positive experience for people in store. Coming back to what Luke had said about the role that employees play in the retail experience. So looking at things like wanting to make that store experience enjoyable and pleasant and exciting, that can be the thing that really tips the balance between staying at home in your pajamas and shopping online, whereas getting in store and going out and doing that.
And Catherine, if I may add, I think it's really important also to note that these incentives will be quite different depending on the category, right? So going to a store to talk to staff may be completely, way up on the list for hardware stores versus beauty products, for example, right? So in the report, we have that analysis as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Can be very different by category. Yeah. So, of course, there are many shoppers, and even as a presenter to WOW, I have to confess that I'm one of them. Really prefer to shop online wherever possible, and a lot of retailers, of course, they're looking to build their e-commerce business. So we've got a little bit of insight there as to the kind of incentives that might encourage the sales in that particular channel. So no surprise, really dominates the top of our list: free delivery. Pretty well universally true no matter what region a shopper is from. But again, beyond that, we are looking at pricing and loyalty programs, extremely persuasive. So always an important tool for retailers, but with the economic climate right now being what it is, it's really something that retailers need to be paying huge attention to and looking at any way that they can create an edge in those particular areas. And then otherwise, there are tools and functions on a retail website itself. So things like an interactive pricing tool or real-time tracking or comparison functions, they all have a potential role to play in making it easier to shop online and really maintaining or building that e-commerce business. So Luke, I'm going to pass it back to you to take us into our second special section here about shopping centers.
Thank you. Yes. So this year we decided to dive a little bit deep. We wanted to examine for the first time the customer experience in shopping centers. Now, part of the reason for that is that in Quebec and in Ontario, there have been a number of very sort of innovative new experiences like the Well in Toronto or Royal Mount in Montreal. But also we wanted to prove, we had a hypothesis, that really shopping malls remain a vibrant part of the shopping experience. And if we look at this very first number, we're seeing that 77% of Ontarians visited a shopping center in the past 6 months. Now, keep in mind, this study was fielded between October and November, mid-October, mid-November. So this is sort of pre-Christmas rush, which even elevates this number even more. And we're seeing that this is higher among younger people and students, people with families, newcomers to Canada, and people with household incomes of $100,000 or more. Now, this tradition is very much still alive. It's important to recognize that there are basically drivers to that overall experience. So we conducted a key driver analysis to look at what factors were driving those satisfaction scores. So we're seeing things like ambiance, like right up there at the top, but very, very close behind, which is kind of part of ambiance, think about it, is the number of stores, the different offers, the different styles, and just the general appeal of the brands that are represented in the shopping mall. So these are important things to consider. And also interesting is the fact that in third place, we've got branding and marketing. So what are the malls doing to shore up sort of their offering? Are they advertising? Do they have a great visual identity? Can people recognize the experience from one mall to another if they're part of the same group? So we looked at, we ranked the malls here. Now, this is not an index like the WOW index. It's basically an average score out of 10 on the experience. And we basically ranked them. The slide is a little bit busy because we wanted to look at, the Toronto CMA, the Eastern Ontario, the Central Ontario differences here. But suffice it to say that we've got 3 malls. Well, basically, we've got 5 malls that do exceptionally well, and that's Conestoga Mall in Waterloo, Sherway Gardens, Cadillac Fairview Sherway Gardens in Toronto, Square One Shopping Centre in Mississauga, The Well, which I've mentioned in Toronto, and Upper Canada Mall in Newmarket. I would say, I think that, one of the things that I've noticed by having been to many of these places, I'm an avid shopper, is that these malls sort of have certain things in common, like kind of a high quality shopping environment, right? They've got modern decor, clean facilities, well-maintained spaces, which really greatly enhance the overall mall experience. They've also got a very diverse retail mix, which is important to consumers, if you remember. Another important component of what these malls have in common is that they're quite accessible, right? So they're in areas that are easy to get to by public transit or major highways or roadways, which makes them attractive. And also these malls tend to host events and promotions that create a sense of community and attract repeat visits. On the flip side, I don't want to spend too much time on the bottom 3, but it's important to note that in these 3 cases, so Lansdowne Place, CF Rideau Centre, and Eastgate Square, if you've been, you'll know that the facilities are slightly dated in terms of their infrastructure. That detracts from the overall experience. People have been to multiple malls and will invariably compare their experiences. They've also got a limited store variety and also kind of a different brand mix. They tend to be tend to lack that diversity, which would appeal to a wider audience, and of course, accessibility as well. A little bit about the malls that perform best on some of those key drivers. So we've got the Well. Oops, sorry, going too fast. We've got the Well, who really excels at ambiance. So that's things like music, the lighting, the decor, the cleanliness, the areas where people can sort of mill about and eat, or things of that nature. Square One and Sherway Gardens tied on the variety and relevance of stores. So not just the number of stores they have, but what are the different styles? Does it reflect a number of different preferences for types of retailers? The Well did exceptionally well also in terms of their branding and marketing. Now, obviously, they've pretty much just launched maybe a year and a half ago. I'm not too sure. So they were very active on that front, and there was a lot of buzz about it because it's a very different experience. You will have this slide in the report that is sent out this afternoon, so I won't spend too much time on on each one because I'd really like to get to really exciting part of this presentation, and that is the best in-store experiences in Ontario. So a little bit about the model itself. So this study, as we said, has been going for 15 years and has basically been based for those 15 years on 16 customer experience dimensions that they're all related to things like products, the price, the service, the store itself. We've just talked about ambiance and layout and things of that nature. And also the customization. So is the store built for someone like you with your lifestyle, things of that nature? And does it create opportunities to build loyalty with with the consumer. We have other measures that we've added throughout the years to ensure that our study remains relevant and that we're picking up on trends of things that are important for the customer experience, but they're not built into the model because we want to make sure that we keep the validated, robust model intact for comparison year over year. So, drum roll, perhaps. Actually, before I get to that, I just wanted to say that, the model itself, while it's built on these 16 dimensions, there is a calculation involved in terms of, again, which of these drive most that positive experience. Across all sectors, the sense of belonging is the most important driver, right? Again, so this is a store designed for people like me in mind, or that fits my lifestyle. This is followed by product variety and quality of products. Interestingly, price ranks 4th and ambiance 5th. So that's important to keep in mind, because the better you do on these important attributes, these important dimensions, the better your WOW score will be. Service ranks a little bit lower overall, but as I mentioned before, staff interactions, things of that nature, becomes much more important in other sectors. We're talking overall right now, but if you think about specialty stores, pet products, men's clothing, things of that nature, those service elements become more important. So let's get to the rankings. We don't have a drum roll, unfortunately, but let's dive right in. So this year, coming in at number 14. Now, this is not a top 10. What we do basically is anyone who has a WOW score of 90 or above, the WOW score goes between 0 and 100. Anyone who has an index of 90 or above is included in our top best experience list. And Kiehl's was not measured last year, so they're new to the rankings, but they make a remarkable entrance with a score of 91.4. So they earn a spot in the top WOW scores. This brand really stands out in its sector for its compelling promotional offers. They've got great signage. The loyalty programs are quite engaging as per their customers, and really provides an exceptional omni-channel experience. Impressively, Kiehl's claims the top spot for omni-channel performance across the entire study, regardless of sector. So they really do offer a seamless and consistent service across all touch points with well-integrated and cohesive information throughout the customer journey. So congratulations to Kiehl's. Coming in at number 13, we've got Nespresso. This is their 6th consecutive year, I believe, in the top rankings. This brand really shines in its sector for delivering a standout experience in discovery, promotions, and fostering that sense of belonging, which we said was so important, and also in terms of their loyalty initiatives. Nespresso also claims or earns high marks for its omni-channel performance and effective and creative solutions to addressing out-of-stock situations, which have happened a lot in the past. So consumers appreciate that as well. Congratulations to Nespresso with your score of 92.7. At number 12, we've got Pennington, or Penn, making its 2nd consecutive appearance in the top WOW rankings. This brand really excels in the women's clothing sector with outstanding service, exceptional product quality, and loyalty initiatives that are greatly appreciated by its customers. Actually, this retailer holds the top spot in the study for loyalty, regardless of sector. Coming in at number 10 and number 10, there's a tie here, same score of 94 on the WOW index. We've got The Body Shop. This retailer is seen to be excellent for pricing, for product quality, and for loyalty activities. Appearing for the first time in this tied position is Long & McQuaid. This musical instrument retailer delivers an outstanding performance, 94. It stands out for its employee expertise and eagerness to assist, fostering a strong sense of belonging and building familiar, meaningful connection with its customers. I was talking to a colleague this morning, actually, who said that her sister is a violinist. And when talking about Long and McQuaid could not stop talking about the employees and their passion for what they do. So clearly that's something that's very important, and it creates that sense of, again, belonging. This store is made for someone like me in mind. If you've got people who work there who really live and breathe their category. Coming at number 9, we've got Lint. This is their third year, I believe, in the top WOW rankings. They excel for product quality, really great promotional activities, employee courtesy, and well-designed store layouts. Notably, it actually does rank number 1 across the entire study for those things: product quality, store layout, and signage. So that's quite an accomplishment. At number 8, we have PharmaChoice. This retailer is making its debut in the top WOW rankings. They've shown remarkable improvement over the past 2 years, particularly in service and store ambience. It also stands out for their competitive pricing as per the ratings of its customers. Now at number 7, we have consistently present in our top WOW rankings. They've claimed the number 1 spot twice, I think, in the past 5 years. It really leads all retailers in the study for employee courtesy and in-store ambiance, while also doing really well at store layout. So congratulations to these players as well. At number 6, we have a frequent contender in the top WOW ranking. This Lush has also claimed the top spot twice and often is seen at number 2. They do really well in terms of their service, the product discovery aspect of their store, and their commitment to diversity and inclusion. Notably, it ranks number 1 among all retailers in the study for their in-store signage and omni-channel experience, offering seamless and well-integrated points of contact. Number 5, with a score of 95.1, we've got Global Pet Foods. This is their second year of being measured. They've achieved, actually, since last year, an impressive 7.5 increase compared to, which is really, really outstanding. And they stand out in their sector for exceptional service, particularly in terms of the employee availability and their assistance to customers and answering questions and providing guidance. It actually ranks number 1 across the entire study for those things, for courtesy, employee availability, and checkout efficiency and things of that nature. At number 4, we have David's Tea making its second appearance in the top WOW rankings. They've achieved, since last year, a 4.1 increase in its index. It's improved on primarily price and also excels, much like Lush, on providing that discovery of product aspect of the experience. It also ranks very, very high across the entire study for signage. So there's something to be said for how they present their products in store and the information that's provided about that. So congratulations, David P. At number 3, we have Ren's Pets. For the second consecutive year, they've secured a very high spot in the top WOW rankings. So similar to Global Pet Foods, they also excel in their outstanding service, their promotional activities, and store layout. It also is one of the highest, if not the highest, in terms of fostering that sense of belonging, that sense of the store. This experience is designed for people like me, which is a very important part of the drivers. We said it was one of the top one. So congratulations to Ren's Pets for being at number 3. Previously ranked at number 1, this year we've got Lee Valley at number 2. They excel on many of the dimensions, obviously, particularly in their case on their wide variety of products and their introduction, or the continual introduction of new products and new product categories. So their customers truly, truly appreciate that. And we're down to number 1. So L'Occitane en Provence was reintroduced to the list of retailers last year. They performed well last year, but kind of fell short of being in this top list. They didn't achieve a score of 90 or more. However, they rose 9.8 points since last year, giving them this score of 95.8. That's remarkable, which means it's improved across nearly all measured dimension. and really stands out also for employee availability, new product discoveries, and promotional offers. The appeal of its storefronts is also a notable strength. So bravo to L'Occitane, and congratulations to these 14 retailers for delivering a truly wow experience this year. Your visitors, thank you. Now, let's look at rankings by sector before we get to the Western Canada results. We'll start with alcohol and cannabis. In this sector, we've got the wine shop at number 1 with an index of 87.7, so just shy of being on the top list. But as you can see, the scores in this sector are quite strong across the board. And even though there's been a pretty big increase in LCBO's score, they've gone up 7.7 since last year. It still ranks last within its sector. So despite this improvement, LCBO does underperform on things like pricing and service, and therefore is at the bottom of the list for this group. Let's look at convenience store. So 7-Eleven secures the top spot with a significant lead over its next competitor, which is Hasty Market. It achieved one of the most notable improvements in the study overall this year by securing an increase of 18.8 points versus last year. So again, every dimension of the consumer experience saw enhancement for this retailer. So really good job on not only claiming the top spot, but creating a pretty big delta between themselves and the next competitor. In the grocery space, we have Fortino's reclaiming the top spot, surpassing Longo's ever so slightly by just 0.4 points. Longo's has held the top spot last year and in previous years as well. The competition here has remained very, very close over the years, with Longo's typically excelling on things like pricing and Fortino's excelling on things like promotional offers. This year, we added the No Name banner, which is new, measured for the first time, and they debut at 7th place in the category, ahead really of all other discount banners or most, which again highlights the fact that pricing remains the most significant driver of customer experience in this sector. So a banner certainly to look out for. As noted earlier, you've got that star there. That means that PharmaChoice, we've already talked about. They were part of our top list. Repeating myself, but they saw great improvement. But also improving this year were IDA. They've gone up by 10 points. Jean Coutu went up by 11 points. Jean Coutu in particular, really, their improvements extended across nearly all dimensions of the experience. Likely influenced greatly by the launch of their loyalty program, Moi. Now let's go to department stores. Costco retains its number 1 spot this year, further enhancing its customer experience with a 5.1 increase versus last year. But there have been other significant improvements in this sector, including Hudson's Bay. It's gone up 6.6 points. Walmart has gone up 6.7, and Hart has gone up 8.1. In contrast, Marshalls and Winners have experienced notable declines. In furniture and decor, overall, the sector has remained quite stable, with the notable exception of Sleep Country Canada. And if I think back to me being a participant this morning in the WOW Quebec webinar, same thing could have been said for Dormez-vous, which is their brand in Quebec. Huge increase in terms of Sleep Country. They've gone up a substantial 12 points since last year. And they had seen a decline last year, but they've rebounded and now have exceeded their levels from 2 years ago. Their improvements are primarily based on improvements in product quality, pricing, and employee expertise, which is something they're very well known for. So congrats to Sleep Country. In the electronic space, interestingly, we've got Best Buy Express outperforming the Source, which was the only retailer in the sector to experience a decline. There's been some rebranding of many Source locations as Best Buy Express, so it's a little bit nebulous here as to what's happening between these two. So let's To hardware, BMR retains its #1 spot, but faced a steep decline this year of 14.3 points. In their case, it was primarily due to drop in product quality and many other of the key dimensions. Rona Plus lows, Rona lows, remains pretty stable, with a slight decrease of 1.7 points versus last year. Let's move on to the beauty sector. You can see that this sector is quite present in our list of top performers. So we've got L'Occitane, Lush, Sage, Body Shop, and Kiehl's, which we've already talked about. So it's an important sector for the top WOW retailers, with 5 of them achieving a score of 90 or more. Of course, we've talked about L'Occitane. Everything else remains pretty stable. Very few huge increases apart from that, or decreases in this category. In the arts and crafts category, we've got, I've already mentioned, Lee Valley being among the top, and Long and McQuaid. But Michaels did see a significant decrease versus last year of almost 8.8 points. Michaels did see an important increase, but did not, crack that top 2 in this case, because clearly there's more work to be done. But they have improved on things like the customer experience across pretty much all categories. Lego was the top. It was actually in the top WOW last year, but declined this year. But still maintains its top spot in the category. Toys R Us showed a notable increase, especially when it comes to new products and overall services. So things are looking up for Toys R Us in this category. As we've already talked about, because 2 of the retailers are part of the top WOW. Again, I'm repeating myself, but expertise of the employees and that level of service and being available to answer questions is very critical in this sector. Telco, slight overall increases. The largest gain, I think, was for Fido, with an increase of 8.8 points versus last year. They've improved on signage and new products. Rogers and TELUS, pretty stable. Pricing, pricing in this category is really the biggest thing the thing that impacts most the customer experience in the sector. Let's move to natural products. So we've got 2 new retailers this year in this sector, Nature's Emporium and Healthy Planet. And they both performed quite well. In fact, so they took basically the top 2 spots for their category. And in this category, what's really critical is the variety of products. That has a huge impact on the customer experience. So it's something to note for these players and for others in the category. When it comes to specialized food, we've got M&M Food right up there at the top, #1 in its sector. But they did experience a pretty big decline, primarily due to drops in product variety, product quality, and the level of service in their store. Specialty store, another category that produces many of our top WOW winners this year. High index scores across the board. We've already mentioned the top 3. One important decline to note in this category is Purdy's Chocolate, which last year was #2 in this category, but just behind Lindt. But was also part of the actual top list, and they've fallen out of that list. So something's going on there. Sports and outdoor, a very big category. We've got a lot of players in here, but topping the list, we've got Cabela's or Base Pro Shops. We have seen a few significant declines. Arc'teryx went down by 7.7 points. LL Bean went down by 12.5. Lululemon went down by 11.8, but there have been some increases, the highest of which was for Decathlon, with an increase of 7.2, landing them at the #2 spot for this category. Decathlon has really continued its expansion outside of Quebec, right? They've opened stores in Calgary, Ontario, British Columbia in the past few years, which is clearly helping them communicate or at least connect with the consumer in a better way. Women's apparel, we've already talked about Pennington's as being in the top list. We've got Reitmans and Laura basically recovering from their declines from last year. Reitmans has gone up by 7.1 points. They were at 80 last year. And Laura's gone up by 6.4 points. So they've basically returned to their their WOW indexes from about 2 years ago. In this sector, product variety is the most impactful driver. When it comes to unisex clothing, we've got 3 notable increases. The first of which is Lacoste. They've gone up by 10.1 points, giving them the top spot in this category. Marks also went up by 12.7 points, and Urban Outfitters by 11.8. So a lot of positive change in this category, and really no significant declines. Everything else is pretty much stable. For men's clothing, we have Jack and Jones, who also increased their score by an impressive 16.3 points versus last year. That's pretty big. So it obviously lands them in the #1 spot for the category, but across the entire study, this is one of the largest increases in this sector. And there has been one decline of 7.6 points approximately, and that's Moore's versus last year. Our last category is going to be shoes. Here we have Call It Spring, taking that #1 spot. They were #4 last year behind Softmock, who was #1. Overall, this sector saw some pretty good improvement, but one retailer declined dramatically, and that's Globo. They were #2 in their category last year, and now they're at the very bottom due to their decrease of 11.2 points in their WOW score. I will pass it back to Catherine, who will do basically what I just did, but for Western Canada.
Thank you, Luke. Very exciting. Some really great retailers there, and congratulations to everyone who ranked so highly. So I'm going to turn to Western Canada, and just briefly, the methodology is consistent with what Luke talked about for Ontario. In the West, we're including BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And people are asked about retailers that are in their areas, and we had a big sample, over 6,500 for those regions. So at that, I'm able to announce the top WOW West retailers. And again, a reminder, we're showing you the ones with the highest score overall out of a maximum of 100, and the top ones are those that get at least a score of 90. So coming in at a tie here for #6 is Medicine Shop and Wine and Beyond. So Medicine Shop has a stable score compared to last year, and they really stand out for checkout efficiency across all of the West. Wine and Beyond was actually our #1 WOW West retailer last year. It still has a very, very strong score, but it does have a little decline due to some lower ratings in a couple of areas. Coming in next is Home Alive Pets, and the pet store sector is actually a new one for WOW West this year. First time we've done it. And it really stands out for its product variety and its loyalty program, which we've talked about as being really key right now. Next comes Lindt. We've also thought of that in Ontario. It also really ranks really, really well here. And it has, again, an increase in Western Canada, up about 5 points. And it's the top in our specialty category. It's really doing well for pricing and promotional offers, which is where it's getting its strength from. Next is Guardian, and they're #1 in our pharmacy category for the 3rd consecutive year. So well done, Guardian. And they're doing really well on pricing, which again, we talked about, so important right now, but also service, welcoming customers, staff availability, and other things. Then #2 is Everything Wine, and they have a stable score compared to last year. It's not that they've increased so much, but they boosted to top in our alcohol category because of that small decline for Wine and Beyond. Everything Wine is really excelling at discoveries and new products, which is about that in-store experience again. And then finally, congratulations to our #1 in Western Canada is Sage. And Sage has been in the #2, so always a bridesmaid for the first 2 years, is now the bride at #1. And they really stand out for staff availability, first and foremost, but also the omni-channel experience is a real thing they're excelling at. And things about the store environment itself. So looking at things like the ambiance, the store layout, the store exterior appeal, and really comes again back to that store experiential that is going to drive people in store. Okay. So now we're going to take you through each of the different sectors so we can get a quick look at the rankings in each of those. In alcohol, we've already talked about the top 2 this year. I just wanted to touch on Great Canadian Liquor, which is a new addition to the study this year. So congratulations in coming 3rd. We did see a real increase for Ace Liquor from last year across multiple dimensions, bringing that score up. In our department store category, that was very stable for the most part. Ratings and rankings stayed about the same. But Marks did have a significant increase, more than 6 points, and that was due to pricing as well as a number of service components that's bringing it up in the list. Now, our grocery category in the West has been a little more of a challenge for a lot of retailers. There's been a lot of declines in this category, but at the same time, some really strong performers. And top of our list is Calgary Co-op, and it was evaluated for the first time. And at top of our list, just ahead of Co-op Food. We did see an improvement as well for Safeway, but again, there were a lot of retailers that did experience declines. Tough category with the increases in prices right now. In our pharmacy category, we've seen 2 of them already in the top of our WOW rankings, so another great strong category there. And we were seeing no declines in this one and a couple of increases as well for IDA and Rexall, so a strong showing there for pharmacy. Moving to electronics, this was in Western Canada a pretty, do you want to flip the page there? A very stable score in Western Canada for the most part, and Apple maintains its #1 position there. Best Buy Express and The Source, Luke had referenced them in Western Canada, in Ontario. They are new additions to the study in the West, and I think it's intriguing to see that Best Buy Express is actually ranking above Best Buy in the West. Furnish and decor, a smaller category in Western Canada. Sleep Country Canada added to the list and is #1. Hardware, we're looking at a strong showing there for the 3 that we've got. Home Depot remains the #1 with a significant increase over last time. Oh, excuse me, I've just realized my video was not showing, so there I am. Apologies, everyone. Next, moving on to telecommunications. This is an introduction to the West for this year. We've got a fairly long list, and there's quite a range of scores from the top to the bottom, as you can see. And congratulations to SaskTel that is coming in at #1 in that place. But something to note for telecommunications, true for a lot of categories, but this one in particular. Pricing is a really, really big driver for telecommunications in the West. Okay, moving on to sports next. A fairly long list here. Sports Experts was another one of our first-time additions to the study, and at the top of the list this year, so congratulations to you. Couple of declines, Sporting Life and Sport Check, weaker scores than in the past, but the rest of the players have remained stable. And then the very interesting specialty store category, the top 2, as you can see, we're top for our WOW. So again, congratulations to those 2 in that category. We didn't see any declines here, so it's a very, very strong grouping overall, and a significant increase, in fact, for Rocky Mountain Chocolates. And then finally, when we turn to the pet store category, this is a brand new one in the West for the first year. And as we mentioned, Home Alive Pets is in our top ranking. There's a fair amount of variation by player. This is an interesting one just simply by the fact that not only does price drive ratings here, but quality really does as well. So everyone's very, very concerned about getting the best for their furry friends. So it's a very quick run through the Western Canadian retailers, but congratulations to everyone. We've seen some really great showings, and really glad we've been able to increase the number of retailers. We did 75 overall in the West this year, and there's a really great amount of data to take a look at. So I'm going to pass it back to Luke for just a couple minutes more.
Thanks, Catherine. Fascinating stuff. again, congratulations to all the winners, but really congratulations to Canadian retailers as a whole. It's really good to see how innovative and how resilient you all are. That's great. If you'd like to basically improve your WOW scores and your overall customer experience, don't forget that Leger has its own team of experts who can help you improve this based on visitor feedback. And any other questions that you have after this webinar, we'll have a few minutes for questions now, but we have our solutions at leger360.com, which is monitored 24/7, and we will get back to you with any questions you might have. Santo, do we have any questions? I haven't been monitoring the.
Yes, thanks, Luke and Catherine. That was great. I just want to remind everybody again, for those that joined, you'll get a copy of the recording and the study after this call today. And the link was shared with you for the digital WOW survey results, which are on Thursday. We did have we had a couple of questions. One of them was, how did Jean Coutu rank in the Quebec survey?
That is a great question. If you can send me an email, I could send you the deck from this morning's webinar. I don't remember. I don't have it on hand right now.
Okay. Yes. Well, yes, have your email there that they can find out for you.
It'll be part of the release of the Quebec results from this morning.
Right.
Apologies.
Great. Someone else wanted to know what's driving Best Buy Mobile to be the best telco experience.
That is something that we could find out from Catherine, something that we could find out from the detailed analysis of the sector, because there we could compare on the various dimensions, all of the components across all of the category. But Catherine, you might have some insights into that.
Yeah, I was just going to note that it is different in the West. We are seeing some different ratings there, so I think it would be worth having a look at the West versus Ontario. But again, I think that's a good one to probably be able to get back to. Sure. Whoever's interested in that particular one.
Great. Someone asked, are the top and bottom malls adjusted for size and location of population?
This is not, so this study really focuses on visitors only. So we don't look at, popularity. We don't look at share of wallet or anything like that. It's really just the impressions of the people who walked into your store and who walked back out and then are asked some questions.
Right, that makes sense. Someone asked a general question about the survey. How are the retailers evaluated in the study selected?
As I may have mentioned early on, it's actually almost a year-long process. We'll start tomorrow on next year's list. We look at, we look at the key players in each category, obviously the ones that are as present as possible in the market, but we also try to include emerging brands. But at the end of the day, we only have so much space in a survey of this type, and yeah, it's a long sort of collaborative process between all of our different offices to make sure that we're hitting the mark in Western Canada, that we're hitting the mark in Quebec and Ontario. And we add brands every year. So if your brand was not part of it and you'd like it to be, and like as I said earlier, just let us know.
And the only thing, sometimes we're constrained a little bit, as much as we want to include all the small brands, all the niche brands that can be really fascinating. We need enough visitors to each brand, so sometimes we're a little bit limited, and we do need to focus on the bigger brands in the mix.
Great point.
Excellent. That's great. That's all the questions we have. There are, for those ones that have typed them in as well that we didn't get to, we will try to make sure that remind you of a way of how to get in touch to get answers to your questions. I want to thank everybody for attending today, and thank our presenters, Luke and Catherine and Leger, for this great study. And we're all here at RCC. We're always so happy to be a part of it by moderating, given that many of the retailers that are ranked are part of the Retail Council. So we're happy to support retail in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.